let's graph y is equal to 2 times cosecant of 1 over 3x in the parentheses and then minus 1. So of course, we are going to find out where the vertical asymptotes are, right? So let's go ahead and look at this equation as y equals to, let's put down a 2 on the top, over, we know cosecant is the same as 1 over sine. So cosecant of this is the sine in the denominator. So we have 2 over sine of 1 over 3 x, like this. And then we have the minus 1 after that. And for the domain, we don't want the denominator to be 0. So let's put down, make sure. And this is how we find the domain, and this is how we find the vertical asymptotes, right? We don't want this. Sine of 1/3 x, we don't want this to be 0. This is 1/3 x. And now, sine of what angle is 0? Let's look at a unit circle real quick. And what to remember, sine is the y value. And the y value here is 0, and the y value here is also 0. Look at it this direction, we have 0 radians. Look at it, that direction. Once you turn 180 degree, we have pi radians, and then you have to go around again and then just keep rotating, keep going, right? So this means I want the input to end up to be 0. I want this to be end up to be pi. I want this to be end up to be 2 pi. We want to put down the 1/3 x first, the input. Okay, this is 1/3 x. We have to put that down first. Altogether, we don't want this to be 0, so let me put that down right here, and then pi for the next one, and then 2 pi for the next one, and so on, so on, so on, isn't it? And we can also turn this backwards. Starting from 0, go backwards, we have negative pi, and then negative 2 pi, right? So we can also have negative pi here, and then negative 2 pi here. These are the values that we don't want the 1/3 x to be end up to be. But we don't want 1/3 x, we want just x. So of course, let's go ahead, multiply both sides by 3. And that we see this and that will cancel, and then we are saying x cannot be, and we can just do 3 times 0 first. That will give us 0. 3 times pi, that's 3 pi. 3 times 2 pi, that will give us 6 pi. The next one is going to be what? 9 pi, and then 12 pi, and then so on, so on, so on. On the other hand, we have 3 times negative pi, that's negative 3 pi, and then 3 times that, which is negative 6 pi, and so on, so on, so on, right? These are the x values that we don't want the graph to have, but they will tell us that we have vertical asymptotes. So therefore, we are going to get a graph right now. So let me put it down here. We have the x-axis and the y-axis, and let's put this right here. Here is my 0, here is my 3 pi, and here is my 6 pi, and then let me just put it down here, and this is negative 3 pi, negative 6 pi. And we have the vertical asymptote, so of course, let's go ahead and do our vertical dashed lines. So let me just do it like this real quick. Okay, and you have to remember, we are dealing with cosecant. And remember that cosecant and secant, the graph of them is going to be a u up and a u down, a u up and a u down, and so on, so on, so on, right? Well, I'm not going to bother to memorize how does it work in terms of the shifting and things like that. I'm just going to show you like the way I prefer you to do. You see, this is 0, this is 3 pi. I'm going to pick a point in between. Okay, always do that. So from 0 to 3 pi, cut in half, of course, we get 3 pi over 2. And I'm going to set up a table right here real quick. So I have to have enough space. Put it down right here. This is the x value. And then let me look at the original equation as that, because we like to work with sign better, isn't it? So y is 2 over sine of 1/3 times x. And after this, we have the minus 1. And the first x value I'm going to plug in. Usually I do tell you we cannot go wrong with 0, but in this case, we will go wrong with 0. I'm going to plug in the number that's in between of the isotopes. So first one, I want to plug in 3 pi over 2. So right here, I will have to work out the calculation carefully and in more detail with you because cosecant and secant, those are slightly trickier. So let me do that right here. You see that plugging this into here, we will end up with 2 over sine is still the sine, and then we have 1/3 times x is 3 pi over 2, and then minus 1, right? If you do it this way, in fact, it's actually not that bad. You see, 1/3 times 3 pi over 2, the 3 and 3 will cancel, so that means we end up with 2 over, this is just sine of pi over 2, and then minus 1. What's sine of pi over 2? You can look at the unit circle right here again. Pi over 2 is right here, and we are talking about the y value. Sine right here is 1, because this point right here is 0,1. The y value is 1. So we have 2 over 1, and then minus 1. This altogether will give us 1. That means we have the point 3 pi over 2, comma 1. Okay? So 3 pi over 2, and let me label it right here. This is my 1, and I have a point here. This is like the vertex of the u that's going to be open up or open down, things like that. And yeah, I am going to get another one. And you see, I'm just considering this first, and then I'm going to consider from here to here. I'm going to pick a value in between of 3 pi to 6 pi. And of course, pick the one in the middle. So what should that be? So what you can do is 3 pi plus 6 pi is 9 pi, and you divide it by 2. That's how we find the middle. 3 pi plus 6 pi is 9 pi, divided by 2, we get 9 pi over 2. So that's the number I'm going to use right here, 9 pi over 2. If you do it this way, you know the computation, it's not that bad. I will still show you all the steps though. Plugging this into here, we have 2 over sine of 1/3 times 9 pi over 2. After that, minus 1, right? Okay, inside out, 1/3 times 9 pi over 2. This right here, 3 and 9 reduce, so we have 3 pi over 2 inside. Sine of 3 pi over 2 is what? Down here, which is -1. This right here is -1. And then we will have 2 over -1, which will give us -2. And then minus another 1. That will give us altogether -3. Okay? So the point that we have is 9 pi over 2, comma, -3. So this is the 9 pi over 2, and then we just label down here. This should be -3 down here, and we have this point. And you see, this is 1, this is actually -3. And the reason is because we bring the graph down 1 unit, and also we have this 2, so that's like the y value got changed. But if you do it this way, you cannot go wrong. So here we go. You see this point is the one that's above, this point is the one that's below. So this point, of course, will have the u that's going up. So I'll put this down right here. On the other hand, we have this point, right? And this one has to be like this. And we make the same copy right here. This will go here though, right? And if you want to figure out the middle right here, do the same thing. This will be 9 pi over 2, but negative. Anyways, you know the deal. I'm just going to finish the graph for you. And then this right here as well. And then just going to draw like this. That's it. What's the domain? What's the range? Do it real quick. Domain is a set of all the x values such that 0, 3 pi, 6 pi, 9 pi, all the multiples 3 pi, right? So x cannot be these bad numbers. So 3k pi, and then we'll say where k is an integer. How about the range? So from here is 1 and above. So the range is the set of all the y values such that y is bigger than or equal to 1, or this and below, -3, right? So y less than or equal to -3. And then we are all done. This is the set builder notation. That's it.